Hello and welcome to Euro Football Daily, where today we're looking at 10 great teams whose achievements have somehow gone uncelebrated. 10. Athletic Club. Everyone knows Athletic Club, but whilst most fans today think of the Bilbao side as a likeable and principled organisation, no one realistically expects them to trouble Real Madrid and Barcelona at the pinnacle of La Liga. However, the Basques have 8 Spanish championships, behind only the 2 super clubs and Atletico, and they have won the Copa del Rey 23 times, 4 more than Real Madrid. They are the only club besides Real and Barca never to have been relegated and won the title unbeaten in 1930, something the Blaugrana have never achieved. But despite this proud history, Athletic Club last won a major trophy in 1984 when they achieved the league and cup double, and only narrowly retained their top flight status in 2007 when they finished 17th, a point above the drop. Given their self-imposed reliance on Basque players, it's still a remarkable achievement, but it looks like the days of trophies at the San Mamés may be gone. 9. Borussia Mönchengladbach. Gladbach are by no means a bad team today, but their golden decade in the 1970s is barely known to fans outside of Germany. Gladbach are 5-time Bundesliga victors, and every one of those trophies came during the 70s, along with a German Cup and 2 UEFA Cups, and their sole appearance in a European Cup final. Gladbach were on the losing side against Liverpool that time, but under managers Hens Weisweiler and Udo Lattek, they played exciting, dynamic football, wrenching Bundesliga dominance from the grip of Beckenbauer and Gerd Müller's Bayern. Jupp Heynckes, later a treble-winning coach with the Bavarians, became Gladbach's all-time top goal scorer, netting 292 goals in 400 games for the club. As the 80s arrived, Lattek left, and financial difficulties forced sales of key players, including youngster Lothar Matthäus, who joined Bayern. They suffered relegation twice since, but have now returned to the Bundesliga, but not to the top of the table. 8. Pro Vercelli. We wouldn't be surprised if you haven't heard of Pro Vercelli. Most people haven't. Based in Piedmont in northern Italy, the club was founded in 1892 and has won 7 Italian titles, the same number as Roma, Lazio and Napoli combined. However, those triumphs all came between 1908 and 1922, and since then, the only league Vercelli have won is Serie D on 4 separate occasions. The problem was that when Italian football became professional, the clubs from richer cities like Milan and Turin had more money to pay players than the ones like Vercelli, from a town about 3% of the size of Milan. Relegation came calling, and in 1948 the club was demoted from Serie B, starting a period of 64 years outside of Italy's top 2 divisions. They have since returned to the second flight, but with a stadium of just 8,000 people, we don't see the Leone troubling Juventus anytime soon. 7. Club Brugge. The only Belgian team ever to reach the European Cup final, Club Brugge knocked out the Juventus of Gaetano Scirea and Dino Zoff on their way to the showpiece match where they lost to Liverpool, something that seemingly happened to everyone in the 1970s. Guided by Austrian Ernst Happel, who lifted continental trophies with Feyenoord and Hamburg, Brugge also won the league 5 times in a decade, with a team of mostly homegrown players. The star forward was Raoul Lambert, a one-club man who hit 270 in 458 for the Blauzois, a better strike rate than Alan Shearer. Of course, it couldn't last, and Brugge never went to another European final, whilst Anderlecht overtook them on the domestic front. It was fun while it lasted. 6. Aston Villa. Birmingham is the biggest English city after London, but whilst the capital boasts 5 Premier League football clubs, West Brom are the closest thing to a top-flight Brummie side. In fact, before Leicester's triumph in 2016, the last Midlands side to win the title was Aston Villa, all the way back in 1981. I wasn't even born. That was Villa's 7th English championship, more than Chelsea and Man City, and came 107 years after their founding in 1874. The next year, the Villains went one better, winning the European Cup with a 1-0 victory in the final against Bayern Munich, before beating Barcelona 3-1 in the Super Cup. Barca's goalscorer was Marcos Alonso, the father of current Chelsea defender of the same name. Though the following years saw their success dwindle, Villa were founding members of the Premier League, and until their relegation in 2016, were one of just 7 clubs to have never been relegated from the division. However, all it took in the end was the combination of Tim Sherwood and Remy Gard to do the impossible, and the Claret and Blues went down. 5. Rangers. From 9 titles in a row to liquidation in 15 years, Rangers' fall was more dramatic than most. The Glasgow outfit have won more titles than any other club in the world, with an astonishing 54, while they've also won the domestic treble on 7 occasions. The Gers are 145 years old, but are only now emerging from their darkest period in their history after financial mismanagement saw them go bankrupt in 2012. As punishment, they were demoted to the 3rd Division, the lowest tier of the Scottish League. But while average attendance for their new rivals was around 500, Rangers continued to fill their 50,000-seater stadium and within 4 years have returned to the SPFL. That quick ascent has given them the chance to rekindle their legendary rivalry with Celtic. But in the 2016-17 campaign, the Hoops are set to romp home with more than 30 league points on the Light Blues. Time will tell whether Rangers can once again rule, or whether they'll become a sad reminder of a glorious past. 4. FC Nürnberg. We all know the most successful club in German football, but who is second? Dortmund? No. Schalke? Nein. It's FC Nürnberg, otherwise known as Der Ruhmreich, the Splendid, on account of their 9 national championships. Despite the last of those coming in 1968, Nuremberg are still a well-supported side, boasting a stadium larger than Juventus or Chelsea, though it was once used for training the Hitler Youth during the Nazi era. But despite their size, Nuremberg have yo-yoed between the 1st and 2nd tier in recent years, with their 1999 season a notable disaster. With 1 Bundesliga game left to play, FCM were in 12th and had already sent a newsletter to fans celebrating avoiding relegation. However, they lost 2-1 at home to Freiburg, and every other team below them won, sending Nuremberg down to 16th and into the 2 Bundesliga. 3. Sweden 1958. An international side gets a shout now, with Sweden's 1958 vintage siding in at number 3. The Swedes reached the World Cup final nearly 6 decades ago, losing 5-2 in the highest scoring final in the tournament's history. But the Swedes had already done incredible things in getting to that stage. In the group, they had seen off a strong Welsh team, as well as Hungary, led by the great Nador Hideg-Kuti. The second round saw the Soviet Union stand in their way, but they put 2 past Lev Yashin and advanced to meet West Germany, who were also dispatched in style. A 17-year-old Pele ran riot in the final, but Gunnar Gren, Kurt Hamrin and Ange Simonsen all became national legends, despite the Blå Gult's ultimate failure, as they recorded the highest finish in their country's history. 2. Torino. The team with perhaps the best kit and badge in football, Torino also has one of the biggest trophy cabinets. The Granata have won the Italian league 7 times, with 5 of those coming in consecutive years in the mid-1940s, when the Gran Torino were almighty. Il Toro adopted the tactics of former Arsenal manager Herbert Chapman, using a 3-2-2-3 formation instead of the defensive lineups favoured in Italy at the time. With the great Valentino Mazzola running their attack, they swept all before them, conceding less than a goal a game and scoring almost 3 themselves for 5 campaigns running. But after a friendly against Benfica in 1949, the team's plane got lost in fog as it approached Turin and crashed into the Basilica of Superga, a church on a hill above the city. 18 players died along with 13 others, and the Gran Torino story turned from triumph to tragedy. 1. Stade de Reims. Paris Saint-Germain may be the dominant force in French football now, but their record of 6 Ligue 1 titles is equalled by Stade de Reims, who currently reside in the 2nd division. Unfortunately for Reims, their last title came in 1962, where they were one of the best teams in the world. In the 1950s, Reims were twice runners-up to Real Madrid in the European Cup, but the Grandeur team cultivated the first golden generation of French football, contributing 6 players to the France squad which reached the semi-finals of the 1958 World Cup. They produced Raymond Coppa, the first Frenchman to win the Ballon d'Or, and Just Fontaine, who set the record for goals scored at a World Cup with an incredible 13 in 6 games. For Reims, Fontaine hit 145 goals in 152 games. That's incredible. But after that, it all went tits up. Coach Albert Batu had played in the 1949 Reims side, which won the club its first title, and picked up another 5 as manager, but he left in 1963, and Reims never recovered. They ended up spending 33 years outside of the top flight, between 1979 and 2012, during which time they went into liquidation and had to relaunch. They eventually returned to the big time, only to get relegated again in 2016. Ouch. So that was our 10 iconic teams that time forgot. But do you have any suggestions? You know where to put them? Down in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this, why not watch Stat Wars with Chris and Pat? And as ever guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.